So, first question I actually have is, did you know One Piece before you got asked to do the role?
No, I didn't. I found out about it a long time before because Matt Owens, the showrunner, and we worked together on a show called Agents of Shield,
Yeah.
and we were shooting an episode, and he mentioned to me that he was obsessed with this comic, and that I should check it out. And I started reading it, and I loved it right away. And it wasn't for another 5 or 6 years that we actually got to make it together.
So you've read all of it?
No, not all of it, but I've read. I know everything that happens with Buggy.
You've become a big fan.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
That's
of
amazing.
course. Yeah, it's great.
So how did you actually prepare for the role? Because Buggy is obviously a pretty wacky character.
Yeah, well, it was. I made Matt. I sat Matt down and I said, "Explain to me everything that happens to Buggy in the whole story."
The whole story, okay.
In the whole story, before we started, and he did that, and we kind of came up with a lot of what those ideas were, balanced with kind of what would maybe a slightly more real world version of Buggy kind of look like, and we tried to kind of combine the two.
Cool. So you're really curious about how it's going to be in the future seasons, because you know what's going to happen, but still they might change some things. So
Of course.
awesome.
Yeah.
You told me us about Ages of Shield. Obviously we both know the show. We're pretty big nerds. So what is one big thing that you took from that role into the role of Buggy, or anything you did after that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Shield was such a. I loved working on that show so much because everyone was so so kind and so good at what they did, and it had been going for a long time, for 7, 8 years. So everybody was. It was such a fun environment to come in and work at every day. That came from Jed Whedon and Marissa Tancherone and Jeff Bell, and Jeff Loeb, who was running Marvel at the time. It was, and I think it was really cool because it being interwoven, in the MCU at that point was exciting.
I can understand that. So going back to the topic of Buggy being a pretty wacky character, is there some parts of him as a character that you can see it in your own personality? Like it says,
yeah. I mean, certainly very exaggerated versions.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I think like everybody feels. To me, the fun of Buggy is he's really insecure, which I think everyone feels sometimes.
Of course.
And that is like he's obviously psychotically
a bit manically.
he's manically insecure. But I find that to be very funny because it's very real. It's kind of how we all feel that way. So and I think a lot of us wish that we could fly off the handle and be as angry as Buggy can.
Yeah, of course,
but,
and as wacky as Buggy.
Exactly.
So you can get away with everything, right?
Exactly. So it's like I think there's like a bit of wish fulfillment.
Of course.
In Buggy's character, and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, one of the last questions I actually want to ask you is, how was your bond with the cast members from One Piece? Because obviously they're pretty,
tight knit.
Yeah.
No, everyone's wonderful.
Awesome.
I nothing but amazing things to say about all of them, and I love Taz and Jacob and Emily, and they're all. And Mekenya, they're so. But what Iñaki does every day, all day, is it's awesome, and I'm very proud of him for what he's doing.
Cool. So the last question that I have is, can you give us a bit of a glimpse into the future? What can we expect from you in the future? Is there anything you can say? If not, then
it's kind of all stuff I can't say.
Yeah, but and that's totally
fun stuff.
So. Yeah, of course. Okay, I'm really curious. Thanks. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
And have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.